Dr. Arau is the Associate Professor of Music Education, the Associate Director of Bands at Lawrence University, and most recently, the author of the wildly popular book, Upbeat, that talks about just some really great things that I guess we kind of all need to know at these days and ages. Now, I don't want this to turn into a Uvalde conversation. It's close to our hearts here in Texas, obviously. But when Matthew asked me what are music educators and administrators dealing with these days, I'm like, well, the obvious, right? Safety of kids in schools. But talking to so many of you over the last several weeks and months, I'm just hearing about teachers leaving the profession for various reasons. Whether Uvalde has sort of pushed them over the edge a little bit, like I don't want to be in that situation, or I'm just tired of fighting my administration, or not you administration, but campus administration, right? You guys, they don't fight with you, you help them. But there's just a lot of things going on. You're trying to hire staff when there's not a lot of people out there that are looking for positions. And so, man, I gave Matthew a whole week's worth of things that you might be dealing with, but we hope you'll share some of those things with us too. So I've already said way too much. I want to give Matthew, Dr. Arau, as much time as possible as we can. So thank you, Matthew. Welcome.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you to everybody joining us this evening, and Lorinda from Australia, and Trish from Canada, and everybody from the United States. It's really a pleasure, and I treasure these opportunities to get to share and collaborate and connect with all of you. So I know that your time is so valuable. I hope to offer maybe some valuable ideas that you can take for yourself and also share with the teachers that you get to work with each and every day. What you do matters so much, and I'm just grateful to you. I'm the chair of music education at Lawrence University, and so I'm in the trenches, preparing the future band and orchestra teachers, and they're excited. They're excited to enter the field amidst all of this. 3 years of COVID in college, and they are pumped. They're starting student teaching in the fall, and they're just thrilled. So that's just really cool to know that there are young people that are just chomping at the bit to have the opportunity to do what you get to do. And I think that's really neat for us to remember. So I just wanted to kind of shout that out. Well, folks, we put together a session tonight called Creating a Positive Culture Through Mindset, Mindfulness, and Leadership. And that's a whole lot to talk about, right? So we won't have time to go all in. I wrote a whole book on it, so you're more than welcome to check it out. And but I'm going to just share some ideas. I always like to start off, and I've been sharing this slide actually since I did my first NAFME webinar on topics such as this in April 2020, April 3rd, 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I just think it's really important, even today, at the end of the school year, just to remind ourselves and remind our teachers, because we feel the weight of the world, I think, sometimes on our shoulders. And it's really important not only to give others grace, but to give ourselves grace. And I actually think that's maybe the most difficult thing. And so I've thought a lot about this idea. And this quote from Pema Chodron, a spiritual leader and author, really resonates with me. I guess she kind of called me out when I read this. Compassion for others begins with kindness to ourselves. Wow, I really want to be compassionate to others and kind. But then I reflected, I thought, am I kind to myself the way I'd like others to be? The way I'd like to treat others? Do I treat myself with compassion the way I'd like to treat others with compassion? And oftentimes the answer for me was no. So I just want to share this idea. How we treat others is a reflection of how we treat ourselves. How we lead others is a reflection of how we lead ourselves. So therefore, treat yourself like you are our best friend, your best friend. When I ask students this question, I'll ask students, I'll say, how many of you believe that it's important to treat others with kindness? And we can do this right now. How many of you believe it's important to treat others with kindness? Go ahead and raise your hand. You can. Awesome. Okay. How many of you believe it's important to treat others with compassion? Raise your hand. How many of you believe, even though it's difficult, that it's important to find in our heart a pathway to forgive others? Yeah. And I have to say, like, I'm not always the best at that. I'm still working on that one, right? You know, but here's where it gets more difficult, at least for me. Even though we know it's important to treat others with kindness, would you agree sometimes we don't give ourselves that same kindness that we extend to others? Raise your hand. How about, do we often not show the same compassion to ourselves that we expect to show to others? Yeah. Me too. And I'll tell you what, this is the real kicker. Even though we know it's important to forgive others, wouldn't you say sometimes the hardest person to forgive is ourselves? Yeah. You with me on that? Yeah. And I think that's really important for us to think about, is how we treat ourselves does affect how we end up treating others. So when I was compelled to write Upbeat, yeah, Rick, we are hard on ourselves. I was compelled to write this book to lift teachers up, to support teachers during one of the most challenging times, at least in my lifetime. I'm in my 25th year of teaching now. And I wanted to find a way to lift others up. And so I'm going to share some of those ideas with us tonight, and get some ideas from you as well. First of all, I have this idea. How do you take care of yourself? Okay, so I know it's about developing culture in the schools and supporting your teachers, but I want to start with you. And that's because I found as like how we treat ourselves is going to be reflected on how we treat others. So how do you take care of yourself? What are things that you do to take care of yourself? And it might be one idea, two ideas. You're going to right now, don't hit enter, don't hit return. We're going to waterfall the chat. Okay, what that means is we're going to hit enter all at the same time. So don't give your response just yet if you can hold off on that one. Okay. So maybe it's like you go for walks, or maybe you have cuddle time with your significant other. Maybe it's Netflix for you. Maybe you spend time with your cat or your dog or something. What are the things for you that center you, ground you, help you out? So write your ideas down, and then we're going to hit chat. We're going to hit enter or return at the same time. So get ready to hit enter in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Look at this. Beautiful. Look at this wonderful ideas. Meditate, my other job. Oh, cool. Puppies. That's really cool. Aren't they? Float in my pool. Rick. Yes. Nature, barbecue, smoking, cooking outside, staying physically active, swim, sing, cook, love others, pets. Woo! I love it. I love it. Love it. Okay. So many wonderful ideas. I'm just going to share lots of ideas here. Sometimes we forget about maybe the most basic one. This has literally changed folks' lives. Drinking a ton of water right when you wake up. Boom. We wake up dehydrated. You tell this to your students, boom, they start drinking water, they have the best day of their life. I know this because this has happened for me when I share this with students. Like, Dr. Arau, I drank like 12 ounces of water right when I woke up and I had the best day yet. So just so many things that we can do for ourselves that don't necessarily take more time, because I know time is limited. Although sometimes we can do things that will give us time, such as this one, news and social media fasts, right? Taking time away from TV, that can help. Smiling, laughter, mindful hugs. This can be a wonderful way to start off your day. Just a close hug with a significant other, and just breathe 3 times, slow, meditative, mindful breaths together, and really regenerating. Sharing appreciation openly. Don't hang on to gratitude. Give it away. It's unlimited. Never hold it within. Finding silence. I think that we often don't have silence in our lives unless we plan for it or we allow it to happen. I've actually started driving now without turning on the radio. I just really appreciate that silent time while I'm driving now. Visualize the kind of day you want to create from the very moment you wake up. Visualize what you want to create, see it before it happens, and then pursue the path to make it happen. Find ways to involve creativity in your life. And then for me, of course, and for many of us here tonight, of course, music is really, really important. So, I've wanted to share this concept of the upbeat with everybody. And raise your hand if you're a musician here, if you have a musical background. I know this is for fine arts, but I think there's a lot of musicians here tonight, which is really fantastic. So when you see the word awesome, I've seen lots of hands. This is another question for the chat. So when you see the word upbeat, what are some synonyms that come to your mind? What are some ideas that are generated in your mind in all words? And we can just at will, just boom, just plop them in. What do you think of when you think of the word upbeat? Energy, lift, breathe. Oh, that's cool. Potential. And I love that potential energy, anticipation. So the word upbeat already brings to mind an idea, right? As musicians, we're also aware of the upbeat and how it applies. Infectious attitude. Thank you, Tom. I remember like learning to tap my foot, which I struggled with, truth be told, by the way. I was a rhythm tapper. Like I remember trying to do In the Mood when I was in 7th grade and tap my foot. Do, 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 do. No way. I was like this. Da, da, do, 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 da, do, 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 do. I looked like a tap dancer on the stage with the jazz band. I had to work so hard. Anyways, confession time. All right. I don't know. You guys make me feel so comfortable. It's getting vulnerable here. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. But so the upbeat, right? But also as a conductor, I love to think of the upbeat as the prep beat, right? And so let's just quickly just kind of review conducting 101. Okay, so everybody, you got your video on. If you don't have your video on, just go ahead and turn it on here. This will be kind of fun. We're all amongst friends here. And we're going to just do some conducting gestures together because, why not? So let's get set up in our conducting pose. And we're just going to go ahead and conduct this note. Da. You can sing your note. Da. A little louder. Okay, good. Awesome. Great. Tom, great tone. Awesome. All right. Now we're going to conduct together. We're going to breathe on the upbeat, exhale on the downbeat, and we're just going to sing that note and then sustain and then release. Let's try it together. Here we go. Da. Right. So that's about a mezzo forte. Now we can change the upbeat and change the dynamic, the tone quality, the sound. There's so much information in the upbeat. I mean, I even think the emotion of the music is within there, right? The tempo, the dynamics, the articulation. So much information is in the upbeat before the sound even is created. Let's go ahead and do a soft sound now. Kind of a lighter upbeat. Ready? Beautiful. And let's just go do something really, really dramatic for this one. Okay. So it'll be, I call this the splash move. In fact, when I work with students, I'll have them practice air splashing each other. And it's kind of like this, like they're in the water. It's a lot of fun. All right. Yeah. You can just really have some fun. Okay. So we're going to do this dynamic thing. Picture your favorite conductor, big epic moment. All right, here we go. Ready? Da. Now more sound, ask for it, make a wild look in your eyes, and yeah, that's okay, relax, okay. I think like the crazier you look, like the louder the group will get, because I don't know, they're intimidated by it. So what I realize is that as a conductor, we study the score, we get the music internalized in our inner ear beforehand, we imagine the sound, we visualize it before it ever happens. Then we give that gesture, and it's followed by the downbeat, right? So what I realized is that the thought precedes the action. And as we look at some different conductors here, you'll see that as you see their upbeats, you can imagine a different quality of sound that's being evoked from the energy of that upbeat. It's going to change the sound of the downbeat, right? Each conductor has their own style, but they're also hearing a different sound in their head, depending on which piece it is, right? And this last conductor, Alan Gilbert, former conductor of the New York Philharmonic, said something notable in an article that I read years ago. He said, the upbeat is the preparation for any event. And that made me think that if the upbeat is the preparation for any event, it can apply to so many things. In football, the upbeat is the throw, the catch is the downbeat. In basketball, the shot is the upbeat, the swish is the downbeat. In track and field relays, the handoff of the baton is the upbeat, the catch is the downbeat. The way the band, choir, or orchestra or mariachi ensemble take the stage is the upbeat to the performance. The way the marching band lines up in the back of the football field before they take the field for their show is the upbeat to their performance. The attitude that we have before we walk into a rehearsal is our upbeat to that rehearsal. And the first thoughts that we have in the morning upon waking are the upbeat to our day and setting up the trajectory of the rest of our day. To sum it up, our thoughts are the upbeats to our actions. Our attitude is our upbeat to any situation. And we choose our thoughts and our attitude. I think this is really empowering to go back to this, that we choose our thoughts and our attitude. Just like a conductor chooses the quality of the upbeat. We hear it first. And in these extremely challenging times that we're all going through together, it's important to remind ourselves of this freedom. You know, Viktor Frankl wrote about this in Man's Search for Meaning, and Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust, right? And he wrote about this, that one of the last of human freedoms is our ability to choose our response. And I've really taken that to heart, even in these incredibly challenging times. So, that was a lot to take in, I know. I wanted to share an idea that I have about how to supercharge our morning, because I was talking with Rick before we got together tonight, and about how we have limited time. And I said, you know what? That we all have our morning. We all have our morning that we get up, and how do we spend our time in our morning? And so this is one area that as teachers we can frame, because if we can get our mornings supercharged and begin the day with more energy, then we're going to be able to find ways to sustain our upbeat all day, which is going to in turn transform the culture of our classrooms. So here's an idea I want to share with you. Everybody wakes up to an alarm clock, but if we reframe it and think about waking up to an opportunity clock, it already changes the way we think about the getting up in the morning. Secondly, if you can focus on one of four things when you wake up intentionally, one of four things, if somebody wants to write this in the chat as I say it, because it's really cool to remember, think of one of these four things and focus on it for 17 seconds. It will literally change the thoughts that follow, okay? Thoughts are sticky, just like music in Spotify and Pandora. Right? If they attract like music, our thoughts are the same way. So here they are. Number one, think of something that brings you joy upon waking. Number two, something that you're grateful for. Number three, these are or, so you don't have to do all of these at once. Okay. Something that gives you comfort. It could even be the feel of your pillow and the soft sheets in your bed. Fourth, something you're looking forward to that day. Something you're looking forward to that day. And then focus on that for 17 seconds. That's literally enough time to make that thought sticky, to start attract like thoughts. It's why when we focus on something we're grateful for, that we discover more things that we're grateful for around us. By the way, these four questions that I shared are used now by teachers across the country and literally around the world in their own classes now. They literally, instead of just saying like, how are you doing? They say like, what are you looking forward to in this rehearsal today? what's called a positive lead, and it gets people in that frame of mind and can start to transform the culture. Bringing gratitude into the opening of a rehearsal and then throughout, we can often lead with that gratitude, but bringing gratitude into the rehearsal is a beautiful pathway to transforming culture. And I'm going to get a little deeper into that. So I also, during times when it feels like completely everything is out of our control, let's take a step back and think, what is in our control? As I share these, I want you to maybe add to this list as we look. But there's a lot that's really still in our control, even though it seems like things are being taken away from us, because they are in many cases. Yeah. What else is in your control? When we can recognize that there is still a lot that's in our control, even when times are chaotic and challenging, it helps us to find what we can focus on and where we can make a difference. Even knowing that our ability to listen is within our control and listen to each other compassionately. The power of get is something I definitely wanted to share tonight in our limited time. In the book, I tell the backstory. It's chapter 2 is literally called The Power of Get. And I give the background on how I came to this idea. But I do want to share something real quick is how many of you are seeing recruitment and retention issues in schools as a major issue? Raise your hand. Have you seen that? Recruitment and retention. Okay. We're seeing programs, with COVID and the virtual learning, a lot of students didn't sign up and kind of lost some of that momentum that we had, right? Well, I've had this opportunity. Oh, for teachers and students, absolutely true. Yes. Okay. So this applies in both situations. I'm going to give a story. I had this opportunity to lead a book study for 300 music teachers in Calgary, Canada. They purchased books for all the teachers in the 2 major school districts in Calgary. And they read the book over about a 6-week or 8-week period. And I did a couple Zooms with them. We had some online ways to communicate. And I did a personal Zoom call with one of the teachers. She was a middle school band director. And she said, Upbeat's changed my life. And I said, wow, what do you mean? She said, I read chapter 2, The Power of Get. And I need to tell you something. Before I read Upbeat, my morale was so low. Over half of my students were going to quit band. And I read The Power of Get, and it changed my whole mindset about how I look at my life and how I look at band. And I went back to the students. We started talking about what we get to do every day, that we get to make music. We get to be together. And she was going to have 50 students in her 8th grade band. That's how many had signed up. A week after she read The Power of Get and started teaching The Power of Get to her students, she had 100 students sign up for 8th grade band, more than were currently in the 7th grade band. She had students that in the hallways had heard about how band was like the positive energy of the school. She made a billboard or a bulletin board in the hallway for The Power of Get. And I'm going to share with you what The Power of Get stands for. And it's really focusing on what we get to do. And we insert the word get in our own vocabulary. We get to do this together. We get to be together. And G stands for gratitude. So we focus on what we're grateful for. E is living every moment with enthusiasm, because this moment is the only moment we truly know that we have, the present. And to treasure the people in our lives and the things in our lives that we often take for granted, even the ability to drink clean drinking water, when over 2 billion people on our planet don't have access to that. So I wanted to share that with you. I can't guarantee results like that. How amazing, right? But it is incredible to think about how when our mindset shifts, we can shift those around us, that it truly is contagious. Mindfulness, it has been something that's simple to implement, but it's unbelievable how it can change our lives. Mindfulness is really about being more aware of the present moment and being present in the now. And that's important for musicians, right? To listen, be focused, be on point. And one of the ways to develop that with our students is through mindful breathing. Now, our students have been going through trauma, much like our teachers, and it turns out our emotions and breathing are connected. How we breathe How we feel is connected to how we breathe, and how we breathe is connected to how we feel. We can't change our emotions at will. By the way, all emotions are valid. We feel all of them. We're human beings. We're going to feel pain, anguish, suffering, grief, loss. And that we feel that, we lean into it. We feel it non-judgmentally, ideally, right? That's like, I don't want to say there's good feelings and bad feelings. They're all part of being human. But if we can get to a place where we can be, I would say, like the best version of ourselves, to operate the best, they're going to be more peaceful, calmer feelings that we enjoy more. Sometimes we call them wanted feelings, right? So rather than shifting your emotions, if you're feeling frustrated, and we know a lot of teachers are, rather than saying, stop being frustrated, just shift your breathing. As Andrew Weil says, it's much easier to regulate the breath than to will negative moods to end. I now begin every rehearsal with a mindful breath, and my students crave it. They long for it. Yeah, and these breaths can be used throughout the rehearsal. They can be used by you. The serenity breath is an incredible breath to ease anxiety in transitions, like in your office right before going out to deal with something. In your nose for 4, hold for 7, out your mouth for 8. The focus breath has been incredible for teachers and students. In your nose for 4, out your nose for 4. It's great for classroom management because you can't talk when you're breathing through your nose. Now you don't have to ask students to stop talking, or in faculty meetings, you don't have to ask people to stop talking. You just lead people through a focus breath. Much like we say with ensembles, when we breathe together, we come in together. How many of you ever use that one? Breathe together, so we come in together. Let me see a show of hands, right? That's a great one. I've also recognized through incorporating mindfulness in the classroom, when we breathe together, we listen and connect together, which is what's so critical for developing a positive culture, is centering the importance of connection and belonging. Making connection and belonging central to what we do is so important. So thinking about how we can do that, in making listening central, listening to each other, sharing that we value one another within our classrooms is so important. Taking time for that, and saying, okay, we're going to have an exchange, get in trios and quartets, and go ahead and share what you appreciated about what the person sitting next to you just did in that rehearsal, right? Or that run on that section. So for all of us, I think this is the question: what can we intentionally do to create community connections and the sense of belonging in our classroom, and making that central? In terms of student leadership, I'm a big believer. I'm actually writing an article right now. It's a cover article for SBO magazine. It's coming out. This is the July issue. Here's the title. See what you think. It's called Inclusive Student Leadership. Lead from any chair. And I've been teaching leadership for quite a while. And we often give leadership training to the student leaders. Raise your hand. Right? Is that right? We give training to the student leaders. Yeah, and it's great training. And most of student leadership training, I must share, because Tim and I talk about this all the time. Like, you know, what is leadership really? It's really about personal growth. It's about personal improvement. It's about character building. Shouldn't every student have access to that? Right? And so if we can make student leadership training available and accessible to all students, how awesome that is for a classroom. And that is going to impact how we even think about leadership and what it is. So I define leadership as inspiring and encouraging others to achieve their full potential. What can be so empowering for classrooms today is to let students know that, you know what, encouraging somebody that needs encouragement is an act of leadership. That's a decision. See, leadership is not a title, it's a choice. Choosing to be kind to someone is a leadership choice. Character isn't written in stone, it's a choice. What I define as the 4 C's of Upbeat leadership, I begin with the foundation of character. And I think that when I talk about the word character, it's really interesting. I realize that within the word character, there's actually 2 words, there's care and actor. So I realize that character really means to act with care. And I think this is something that students can get, and we can really work. Competence is about growing your skill, leading by example, role modeling. Connection is necessary to build relationships and team building, and clarity is about having a common vision together, which I believe we should collaborate with our students to create vision and goals. That can really change the culture. sharing with students what I call the 5 levels of Upbeat leadership. Level 3 is the one that I think we can encourage students to operate in the most, which is do the task with those you are leading. That's probably the best way to lead as a student, is to role model and demonstrate. Okay. Having high expectations and being supportive is great for a fine arts administrator. It's great for a teacher, and it's great for a student leader to think about that. Don't lower your expectations. Keep high expectations, but provide the support. I've shared a lot of ideas from Upbeat, and I know if you're interested, I wanted to provide a discount code for everybody. 20% off. GIA is offering this, Upbeat 20. You can go to my website. That's what that QR code will take you to. And through the website, it'll take you to the GIA page, and you put in Upbeat 20 as the promo code, and you'll be set there. You can also get it on Amazon, a Kindle edition, or just Amazon if you want the free shipping, right? So awesome. Okay. And just want to emphasize the importance of what you do every day. I was talking to my students about being a light, and it turns out that more light is the Lawrence University where I teach the theme, and truth is light, veritas is lux. So we're always talking about light at Lawrence. And I shared, it only takes one light to transform a dark room, right? One light, one little candle, one candle, the tiniest, one light can transform a room. And I literally turned to my student Courtney today. I said, you are a light, and students need you now more than ever. And during these incredible times, incredible challenging times, I think we need music now more than ever. And I know that it's one of the hardest times in our careers for teachers, but we need to be reminded that they need us more now. This isn't the time to turn away. This is really the time to turn up the light. And I love to just share with teachers that, and remind teachers, because sometimes I think we have so much on our plate. It's hard to remember why we do this, but remember that we inspire the mind, heart, and soul of our students. It's so important. I know that's what you do as fine arts administrators. You're out there cheering on, supporting, doing everything you can. I want to thank you for the time. Thank Rick and all the support crew from Conn-Selmer. Feel free to reach out. It's my website, upbeatglobal.com, or my email, matthew@upbeatglobal.com. But most importantly, I want to know if you could share anything that resonated with you that you feel you can share with your teachers, and put that in the chat. I think that would be really valuable, so we could learn from one another. Also be at CSI as part of the MAC track. So I look forward to seeing some of you there virtually or in person. And if you have other ideas for building connection or taking care of yourself that you'd love to share with folks tonight before we go, I know this is the last one of the season, and do take care of yourself this summer. Recharge, rejuvenate, so important. I do believe that the person at the front of the room is the most important person for creating culture, which is why Upbeat Part 1 is all about the self. It's all about the teacher. And then Part 2 brings it into the classroom. And then Part 3 brings it to the students through empowerment, through student leadership. But I do think it begins with ourselves. So
Matthew, thank you so much for being a light for us tonight, this afternoon. And yeah, it's so critical. Everybody, please take care of yourselves. Try to, it took me years to realize that I could literally close my office door late in the night, in the evening, and know that it's still going to be waiting for me the next morning. I didn't have to keep going and going and going, but it took me years to be able to do that. And something as simple as that is a little bit rejuvenating. So find whatever it takes to give you that break this summer. Get Matthew's book, cozy up somewhere, and that'll give you some inspiration as well. So thank you all so much for being here, especially those of you that have been with us every time. We really appreciate your support. We will not have a first Wednesday in July. And we are looking at restructuring some things for next semester. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I'm toying with the idea myself of maybe just doing this at a little bit of a different time to see if we can get more people that are available at this time. Even though the replays are available, we'd love to have more people in person. So we'll keep you posted as things progress and as we get more clarity on exactly what we're going to do. If you have anything that you'd like to hear about next semester, please reach out to me. Maybe we can convince Matthew to come back again next semester. And we asked him to keep it to 30 minutes, and he could have done a week on all this. So thank you for the condensed version, Matthew, and everybody have a great summer. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.